All right, so you're thinking about Pure Storage, huh?
Thinking about maybe adding them to your portfolio.
Exactly. Well, you came to the right place for a deep dive.
That's right. We'll unpack their latest quarterly report.
That's their Form 10Q.
And the highlights from their earnings call. This was for Q2 of fiscal year 2025.
We'll break it all down. We're going to figure out if Pure Storage is the real deal.
Or just another flash in the pan.
Well, let's get right to it then. We want to help equip you with the knowledge.
All the knowledge you need to make a smart decision.
About investing.
Absolutely. So we'll be looking at their financials, obviously.
Of course.
But also their growth strategies.
Those strategies, yeah.
And the potential risks they face.
Got it.
It's about getting a balanced view. Are their future prospects good or not?
Okay. The first thing that jumps out at me in these reports?
Yeah.
Revenue growth in Q2 2025.
Oh, impressive. How much?
A cool $763.771 million in total revenue.
Wow.
And their subscription annual recurring revenue.
AR.
Yeah, AR. Up a huge 24% year over year.
Hitting $1.510 billion.
Serious growth.
Especially given the economic headwinds lately.
That ARR growth is what's really interesting to me.
Oh, really? Why is that?
It points to a shift in their business model, moving towards subscriptions.
Interesting.
And it's not just a one-time thing.
Oh.
This 24% growth, it beats the overall all-flash array market growth.
Oh, wow.
They're taking market share from competitors.
So they're not just riding the wave.
No.
They're actually outpacing it.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's a good sign. But I'm curious about this transition to the subscription model.
Yeah.
How does that impact their financials?
Well, it can be a double-edged sword.
Uh-oh.
In a way. On the one hand,
Yeah.
subscriptions, they give you a predictable revenue stream, which is good.
Right. That's good for investors.
Less volatility, more stability. But on the other hand,
What's the other hand?
it can make those quarterly revenue figures a bit weird.
Okay.
Because that revenue, it gets recognized over the entire life of the contract.
Ah, I see. So it's not all up front.
Exactly.
So maybe the raw revenue numbers aren't like screaming growth.
Right.
But the ARR tells a different story.
Exactly. It's just a really healthy trajectory for them.
Gotcha. So we have to look at the big picture,
Yeah.
not just a single snapshot.
Precisely. It's about understanding their recurring revenue stream.
Okay. So what is it that's actually driving this subscription surge?
Well, their big bet is on all flash data centers.
Oh, interesting.
They think traditional hard drives are on their way out.
Really? Like, completely?
Pretty much, yeah. And they're trying to lead this transition.
Okay.
Their all-flash arrays are all about speed and efficiency.
Right.
Scalability, too.
Makes sense, especially with all the data these days.
Critical factors in today's data-driven world.
Okay. But isn't that market kind of crowded already?
It is, absolutely.
Like you've got Dell, EMC, NetApp, HP Enterprise.
All the big players.
So how is Pure Storage differentiating themselves? They're focusing on some high-growth segments, AI and hyperscalers specifically.
Ah, AI. The buzzword of the century, it seems.
It is. Everyone wants a piece of that pie.
So what's Pure Storage's edge, then?
Well, they say their solutions are uniquely suited to the heavy workloads of AI and big data.
Okay. But lots of companies say that. Do they have an example?
They do. They point to a Fortune 500 food and beverage company.
Okay.
This company used Pure Storage's Cloud Block Store and cut their storage costs in half.
50% reduction. Wow.
That's significant savings. It illustrates their value.
Yeah, for sure. But this hyperscaler market, I imagine it's tough to break into.
It is. The biggest challenge there is the unpredictability.
Oh, how so?
So even when Pure Storage wins, a design win,
You mean?
meaning their tech gets used in a hyperscaler's platform,
Okay.
it's hard to turn that win into actual revenue.
I see.
Difficult to predict when and how much they'll sell.
Got it. So there's a lot of uncertainty.
Absolutely, and that's something investors have to consider.
Okay, so we've got a company with an exciting growth story.
Driven by subscriptions and a focus on AI and hyperscalers.
But let's be real, every company has its challenges. What could slow them down?
Well, the macroeconomic environment is a big one.
Yeah, that's a concern for everybody in tech.
It could definitely impact their growth.
What else are they worried about?
Long and unpredictable sales cycles, especially when dealing with large companies.
Oh yeah, those can be a nightmare.
Those deals can take months, even years to close.
It makes forecasting revenue tough.
Very tough. And then there's the competition, those big players we mentioned before.
They must be putting pressure on Pure Storage.
They are. They're constantly battling for market share.
So Pure Storage is facing a multi-front war essentially.
In a way, yes.
Oh.
Battling the economy, navigating those tough sales cycles.
And fending off the big players.
Exactly. So are they just giving up?
No, I doubt it. What are they doing to mitigate these issues?
Well, they're trying to diversify their customer base, expanding into new markets and making their go-to-market strategy better.
To tackle those long sales cycles.
Yes, exactly. And they're spending a lot on R&D.
They have to stay competitive. But what about those deeper questions? Like the really big existential things for a tech company.
You mean like disruption from new technologies?
Yeah, or unexpected shifts in the market.
Those are real concerns. The tech world moves so fast.
So Pure Storage needs to be adaptable.
They do. They can't afford to slow down or get complacent.
Well, we've laid out all the pieces of the puzzle here.
Now it's up to our listener to put them together.
And decide if investing in Pure Storage is right for them.
Right. Based on their own risk tolerance and their assessment of the company.
And how they see Pure Storage's future.
Exactly. Welcome back to our deep dive on Pure Storage.
When we left off.
We were discussing the competitive landscape.
Right, and all those challenges.
As Pure Storage tries to, find its place in the data storage world, high stakes.
It is. It's a high-stakes game, for sure.
Right.
And any potential investor.
Needs to understand all of this.
For sure. So let's get back into the financials.
Yeah.
I know we talked about their impressive ARR growth.
Yeah.
But are there any other numbers that stand out to you?
I think.
Anything that might offer clues about their future?
Yeah, actually, there is one. Their gross margin.
Okay. Tell me more about gross margin.
So gross margin, it's a really key indicator of profitability.
Okay.
Basically, how much money they're making from each sale.
Right.
After they've accounted for the cost of those goods.
The cost of goods sold.
Exactly. And what's really impressive about Pure Storage,
Yeah.
their gross margin is consistently above 60%.
Wow, that's pretty good, right?
It's very healthy, especially for a hardware company.
So they're not just selling a lot. They're also making a profit from it.
That's a really good sign.
So how does their gross margin compare to their competitors?
That's the question every investor should ask.
Right. Are they just keeping up with the industry average?
Well, in this case, actually, Pure Storage's gross margin is actually higher than some of their main competitors.
Oh, really? Like who?
Dell EMC and NetApp, for example.
Okay, so they're doing better than them.
It suggests they have a more efficient operating model,
Gotcha.
which could mean higher profits in the future.
So they're not just winning on features and all that.
Right.
They're winning on efficiency.
Exactly.
And profitability, too.
That's a great combination.
But they are operating in this fast-paced, constantly evolving industry.
Oh, absolutely.
And tech changes so fast.
All the time.
So how is Pure Storage keeping up with all that innovation?
Their R&D spending, they invest a lot in research and development.
Makes sense. To create the next generation of data storage.
Exactly. They're really focused on things like AI, machine learning.
Those are hot areas right now.
Oh, yeah. And cloud-native applications, those are really important, too.
All areas where data just keeps growing and growing.
It's exploding, but all this innovation doesn't come cheap.
But how are they paying for it all?
Well, it's a balancing act like it is for most growing companies.
Right.
They're doing well with cash flow from operations.
Okay, that's good.
But they also use debt and equity financing to keep things going.
For their expansion and the R&D too.
Exactly.
Well, let's talk about that debt for a second.
Okay.
We know too much debt can be a problem.
Especially if there's an economic downturn.
Exactly. So how much debt are we talking about? Is it something to be worried about?
It's definitely worth keeping an eye on.
Okay.
They do have a significant amount of debt, it's true.
Good.
It's important to look at it in context.
Okay, what do you mean?
So their debt-to-equity ratio
Which basically measures the proportion of debt.
to equity financing,
Right.
it's actually pretty reasonable, especially compared to other companies in their industry.
Okay, so they're not being reckless about it.
Not at all. They're strategic about it.
Okay, well, even if their financials look good, we still have all those external factors to consider. The economy, competition.
And those supply chain issues we talked about before.
Right. So how are they dealing with all of that?
Well, it's a multi-pronged approach to minimize the economic risks.
Yeah.
They're emphasizing their value.
How their solutions can save companies money.
Exactly. Improve efficiency, too.
And, really make the most of their IT investments.
Exactly. Even in tough times.
So they're saying that smart investments in technology can still be a good idea.
Even when things are tough.
What about those competitive pressures, though? Those giants we talked about?
Yeah, how do they stay ahead of those guys?
When everyone's investing in all-flash solutions.
It comes down to differentiation.
Okay.
They're really pushing the message that their all-flash arrays are not just faster and more efficient,
Right.
but they're also more reliable and more sustainable.
Okay.
Plus, they're building a strong partner network
To reach more customers.
and offer a wider range of solutions.
So it's not just about speed and all that.
No.
It's a whole package deal.
It is.
Performance, efficiency, you said reliability and sustainability too.
Absolutely.
What about those supply chain problems?
Oh, yeah, good point. Those have been a headache for a lot of companies.
Could those derail their production?
Well, they do acknowledge that risk in their report.
Okay.
They're working on it, though. They're diversifying suppliers, building relationships.
So they're less vulnerable to disruptions.
Exactly. They're also building up some inventory.
To have a little cushion?
Just in case.
Makes sense. But in the tech world, we know you can't stand still.
Oh, if you're not moving forward.
You're falling behind.
Basically.
Innovation is key.
It's everything.
So what is Pure Storage doing to stay on the cutting edge?
Well, those R&D investments are a big part of it.
Right, we talked about that.
But they're also making some strategic acquisitions to bring in new tech and new people, like Portworx.
Tell me about Portworx.
They specialize in cloud-native storage solutions.
Okay, and Pure Storage acquired them.
Yep, which shows they're serious about staying ahead of the curve.
It's smart in such a fast-paced industry.
Speed is everything.
So zooming out a bit, where does Pure Storage fit in the overall data storage market?
Good question.
What do their long-term prospects look like to you?
Well, the data storage market, it's huge, and it's growing like crazy.
Because of
Cloud computing, big data analytics, all the AI stuff we talked about.
right, yeah.
Pure Storage, they're in a good spot to take advantage of this.
Especially with those enterprise all-flash arrays.
Exactly. They're really gaining traction there.
Okay, so they're riding this wave,
A powerful wave.
and it seems like they've got a good board under their feet.
Huh. I like that analogy.
But what could go wrong? What could knock them off course?
Well, the biggest threat is always competition.
Right, we talked about all those big companies.
They need to keep innovating and find ways to be different.
To stay ahead of the pack.
Exactly. It's a constant race.
And we can't forget those macroeconomic risks either.
You're right. A global recession or even just a slowdown in IT spending, that could really hurt them.
So could their focus on efficiency help them in that scenario?
It's possible, if companies are trying to do more with less, Pure Storage might be attractive.
Because they can help save money.
Precisely.
It's a delicate balance.
It is.
But aside from all the external factors, are there any internal weaknesses to worry about?
Good question.
Anything that could hold them back?
Well, one thing that comes to mind
Yeah.
is their reliance on a few very large customers. Their customer base is growing. They still make a lot of their revenue from just a handful of big companies.
I see. So if they lose one of those,
It could really hurt.
they need to keep diversifying.
Definitely.
But even if they do that,
Mm-hmm.
there's always the risk of just messing up the execution, right?
Absolutely.
In tech.
Especially in tech.
It's so fast-paced.
You have to make the right decisions and execute them perfectly.
It's crucial.
And that brings us to leadership.
Yeah, the management team.
Investors need to assess those people. Do they have what it takes?
To navigate these choppy waters.
Exactly. Can they lead the company to success?
We've covered a lot in this deep dive.
We have.
Financials, growth, competition, risk, leadership.
It's a lot to take in.
So what are the key takeaways for our listeners?
Well, I think the main point is this. Pure Storage has a lot of potential.
They do.
They're in a market that's only getting bigger. They've got good products.
Financially sound, too.
Right, and a good leadership team.
But there are challenges, too.
Big ones. Tough competition, economic uncertainty.
Can't forget about that.
It's a high-risk, high-reward kind of investment.
Like many tech stocks.
Exactly.
So it really comes down to each individual investor,
Figuring out their own risk tolerance
their investment timeline,
and how much they believe in Pure Storage.
right? Their confidence in the company.
We've given you a lot to think about.
But there's always more to explore,
Stay tuned for part 3.
where we'll really dissect those risks in detail,
We'll give you even more to consider
so you can make an informed decision.
about investing in Pure Storage.
All right, welcome back to our deep dive on Pure Storage.
We've spent the last 2 parts kind of unpacking their story.
Yeah, we looked at the financials, the growth strategies,
And even, started to touch on some of those potential problems they face.
but now it's time to put on those skeptical hats
Let's get critical.
and really dissect those risks. Can Pure Storage handle the pressure?
Exactly. No investment analysis is complete without a healthy dose of skepticism.
Got to look at both sides.
The good and the bad.
So let's dig into those challenges, starting with, I think, the biggest one.
Oh, yeah, you're talking about competition.
Competition, exactly.
The big one.
We've mentioned these big players before.
Dell, EMC, NetApp, HP Enterprise.
What are they doing to fight back against Pure Storage?
Oh, they're not just watching from the sidelines.
Okay, good.
These companies, they have a lot of money, a lot of resources.
And tons of experience.
They've been in this market for a long time.
So they're not going down without a fight.
Exactly. They're investing heavily in their own all-flash solutions, adding new features.
It's constantly trying to catch up.
It's a never-ending arms race in this industry. You snooze, you lose.
So Pure Storage has to constantly innovate and stay ahead.
Absolutely. One wrong move and they could fall behind.
Okay, so competition is fierce. But then there's the whole economic situation.
Yeah, can't forget about that.
It seems like everyone's worried about a recession.
Or at least a slowdown in IT spending.
How much would that hurt Pure Storage?
Well, remember, a big chunk of their revenue comes from those big companies.
Right, those enterprises.
And when the economy goes south...
Budgets get cut.
Exactly. And IT budgets are usually the first to go.
Pure Storage is arguing that their solutions can help save money.
They are. They're pushing that efficiency angle.
Even in tough times.
It's a good argument.
But is it enough? Can it really protect them from a bad economy?
It depends, honestly. If there's a deep recession...
Yeah. Even the best value proposition might not be enough.
Companies might just have to cut everything.
Exactly. They might not have a choice.
Okay, so there are limits to what Pure Storage can control.
They can't control the whole economy.
All right, well, let's move on to another challenge they keep mentioning. Those sales cycles.
Oh, yeah, those long and unpredictable sales cycles.
It seems like those big deals take forever.
They do, especially with these large companies.
So what are they doing about that?
They're trying to streamline things.
Make the process faster.
Exactly. Build relationships with the decision makers.
With the people who actually sign the checks.
Exactly. And they're offering more flexible pricing, too.
To make it easier to buy.
But the truth is, those long sales cycles are just part of the game.
In the enterprise world.
It's a complex sale. There are lots of people involved.
So no quick fix there.
No, it takes time and patience.
All right, well, let's talk about another big risk. Cybersecurity.
Oh, yeah. Can't forget about that.
With all the data breaches these days.
It's a major concern. How confident are you in Pure Storage's security?
Well, they seem to be taking it seriously.
Good.
They're investing in security, following best practices.
That's all good.
But the thing is, no system is perfect. There's always a risk.
Of human error or some new vulnerability.
Exactly. Or a really sophisticated attack.
That can get through their defenses.
And you know those hackers?
Always trying to stay ahead.
It's a constant battle.
Okay, so cybersecurity is always a risk. Let's shift gears and talk about their leadership.
Okay. Yeah, the management team.
What do you think? Do they have what it takes to lead this company?
Well, on paper, they look good.
Mm.
They've got a lot of experience.
Seasoned veterans.
Right. The CEO, Charlie Giancarlo, he's been around the block a few times. He's seen it all.
He was instrumental in their growth.
Exactly. But like with any company.
It comes down to execution.
And they adapt, make the right decisions.
Keep everyone moving in the right direction.
Yeah, it's a lot to juggle.
So, big picture time. What's your overall take on Pure Storage's future?
I'd say I'm cautiously optimistic.
Cautiously optimistic.
They have a lot of good things going for them.
Strong products, growing customer base, solid financials.
Good leadership, too.
And they're in the right market.
A market that's only getting bigger. There's always a but.
These challenges are real.
Fierce competition, the economic uncertainty.
And that cybersecurity threat hanging over everyone.
So it's not a slam dunk investment, that's for sure.
It's high risk, high reward.
You got to weigh those factors carefully.
And make a decision that's right for you.
Based on your own goals and your risk tolerance.
And we have to remember, this is just a snapshot.
Things change fast in the tech world.
Pure Storage's success will depend on how well they adapt and execute their strategy.
Exactly. They have to keep innovating, too.
All right, well, that wraps up our deep dive into Pure Storage.
We covered a lot.
We looked at their business from all angles.
Hopefully our listeners have a better understanding now.
Of the opportunities and the risks.
So they can make an informed decision.
About whether to invest or not.
Remember, do your own research, stay informed, and don't be afraid to ask questions. Investing is a journey.
And knowledge is your best guide.
Happy investing, everyone.